right, everybody, we are back. We're with the great Scott Moore. We've looked at some men's doubles. Now we're going to look at mixed doubles. And let me set the stage for the players that are going to be on the court for the points that we watch. We have Scott in the red hat there. His partner is Eva Welsher, who's about to return serve. On the far side is the lefty Dan Granat, and Mary Helen Atkins is in the orange shirt on the far side. She just served to Eva. So before we jump into the points, Scott, a lot of people ask me, I'm sure they ask you, even though the court is the same, the number of players is the same, mixed versus gender, men's or women's doubles, is quite a bit of a different game. How is it different for you? How do you approach it different? What can you share with our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it as a completely different game, Dave. And I'm looking to be a whole lot more aggressive. So I don't see the middle line in mixed doubles. I mean, that means nothing to me. I'm going to go over as far as I comfortably can, which would be probably 70 to 80% of the court, to take a ball out of the middle with my forehand if I can take it out of the air. Now, I will not take a dink from my female partner, even in this case. But because I don't think I can dink it any more effectively than she can. But when I get a forehand up, then all of a sudden it's game on, and I'm going to try to help her out because, you know, the gist of mixed doubles is primarily avoiding the guys and pinching the girls and putting the pressure on them, and they end up hitting, like I said before, maybe 80%, maybe sometimes 90% of the balls. Yeah. So I feel like I've got to do my part and try to help out and be aggressive, and whatever that looks like. Take some balls, take some risk, and create some opportunities for our side.
Yeah, and that aggression can create mistakes just by the presence of you erasing that middle line.
Correct. That's right. So they're looking up, kind of worried about what I'm going to do, trying to keep it lower. All of those things cause mistakes as you talk to. And I think the best way to win a point is to have your opponent miss it, not to have to hit a winner, because then I take no risk whatsoever. So just being in the right position, showing that poach, putting pressure on them wins you free points. And I love that.
All right, Scott. I just mentioned the tennis players out there, and overheads in tennis are usually game over. You can bounce the ball over the fence, hit it hard, straight down, hit it just so many ways that it's a clean winner once you have one of those. In pickleball, it's hard to put the ball away. So as you go through this point, walk us through what you're trying to do, and then ultimately speak to what your partner was able to do to help you guys win this point.
I'm returning to Dan to keep him back. We talked about that earlier. He lobs it. Eva is able to get it, but it was her backhand. Brought him in. Here's where I'm going over 65% of the court, keeping it at Mary Helen's feet. Now I'm going to make it hard for her. We've got them back. Even though they're retrieving it, I've got them back. So I want to keep them deep. They got it again. I'm going to step over, be aggressive again. And Eva finally just has an absolutely perfect angle. She took it early out front, a little high ball, and was able to get the angle that they got no chance to get that one back. So I love that angle that she put on that. They weren't expecting it. I'd been stepping over. All of a sudden, she reaches forward and puts it where no one's getting it. I don't care who they are.
So I think that's, the beauty of this particular point is, first we talk about where your return went, which Dan's a very aggressive player, especially in mixed, as you mentioned. So you want him back all day long.
Right.
But speak to, it's really hard, especially for newer players, for, as I've mentioned, tennis players, to be patient with your attack. And that sounds like two conflicting things, but in pickleball, it really isn't.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Absolutely. And the first thing is, notice how Eva is giving me room, right? Yeah. She's a little further back on that first one. And then I know now I've got him in position. If I can just keep it deep and hard, they're going to have to be digging all day long to win this point. So I'm just kind of keeping it low on them and hard, knowing that our time is coming when they're going to get it too high or miss. If I can just keep them back, because I'll play all day with us up and them back. I mean, I love that situation. I love our odds. We're going to win 90-something% of the points in this formation. So even if they get a few back, I'm just going to keep ripping it where I think they're not expecting it maybe, and try to keep it low. And then eventually we get our time to boom, put it away.
And, I think that's where people's levels and winning change when they're able to adopt that philosophy. Because when you see that first ball, you're like, oh, I'm going to hit a winner right now and end the point. And, pickleball doesn't work that way.
Very hard to do.
A couple of weeks ago, I had Jocelyn Devier on and his philosophy is the ball's always coming back. So you better be ready. And I love that.
That's great.
On this point, in an interesting sort of factor is Dan hit a lob third there.
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts on that?
Very unusual. I mean, it's almost was effective because he got it to Eva's backhand. I would never advocate it, never expect it, but maybe that's why it was somewhat effective, right? I'm looking for a hard ball down the middle, and I can't really reach that. I'm running in, so Eva did good to go back and get that and hit it to a place where he is under duress. They're having to dig it out. So I love the way she returned that, but I think it was effective because it was unexpected. I can't say more than that, and he hit it to a good spot, where I was already in, couldn't hit it with my overhead, hit it to Eva's backhand side. So, it's one of those things. I don't say you should do it, but if you can do it that well, it may work every once in a while.
Yeah, and I think his setup here, as we look at it, was great. It looks like he's going to hit his backhand drive, which Dan likes to do, and he puts a lot of topspin on this. And I think, we're going to talk about lobs here in a minute because you guys lob very effectively as well, but not from that position. We saw both Ben Johns and Simone lobbing some in big matches. And I think when you have the wind, and it was a little windy here, and you can throw a topspin lob into the wind and let that dive down. Again, it's just another item to have in your list of choices that you can throw at somebody.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with what you just said. Into the wind, top spin, can be very effective and not expected. See, I'm trying to close quickly, worried that, he's going to drive it. And all of a sudden, boy, I'm too far in for that shot. So he caught me, but fortunately, Eva always has my backside, and she saved the day.
Without question, as I was able to enter and play at a high level against folks like you were one of the few people, young pro, old pro, men, women, senior, whatever, that really uses a backhand serve. So why don't you describe to everybody before we jump into this point, why you do that and how have you been able to make that really, it is a weapon for you?
Yeah. So honestly, it started off because I kind of got the yips on my forehand, and I was trying to get a little top spin, and for whatever reason, I was pulling my forehand serve either left of the court or into the net, and I just wasn't as consistent as I wanted it to be. And I've always felt like that, in a lot of ways, the backhand motion is more natural than the forehand anyway. And so I just started playing with it one day, and I loved the way that I could spin it, from right to left and get more spin than a forehand serve. So on a windy day, if the wind is blowing from right to left, I can take, Mary Helen in this case, completely off the court and, make her hit a ball when she's almost on a full run. So I love the different spin. I love being a little bit unpredictable, not letting people get in a rhythm against me. And the extra control that I get, really swinging from the shoulder. So I just find it more consistent. And, like you said, a kind of a new tool or weapon in my toolbox.
So folks, go out there and practice, not just the new rule stuff, the drop serve and the spinning the ball in your hand and in the paddle on your toss, but the backhand serve. Most people are used to slice going one way. The backhand slices the ball the other way. So give that a try. All right, what we're going to see here, Scott, is a term I use when I'm commentating. It's one of the most effective double strategies when you get a ball that you can hit, and that's shake and bake. So let's show the viewers what shake and bake is, and then let's talk about when and how you can use it. So take us through this.
Okay. I got the backhand serve, got it pretty deep on her. She's pretty far back in the court now, running full speed. So Eva decides to go ahead and drive it because she's still in motion. And that's, again, one of the reasons that you try to hit a deep serve is to keep them back. So you see she's running in. Eva sees that, hits it before she gets set at the kitchen. Mary Helen is still moving as she has to hit that ball. And therefore, I know I'm going to have an opportunity, more than likely, if I'm ready, to take something down the middle. And that's what I'm looking for, is just to be able to get a ball out of the air in the middle and attack it. And I was able to do that. Caught Dan off guard because it's coming pretty fast. He's not maybe expecting it, and it worked out to our advantage.
So just so everybody knows, the shake comes from the drive off of Eva's paddle on the shorter return, and the bake comes from Scott finishing right there. So some teams, some players, that's their strategy. Like the Waters love to shake and bake all day long. They're smoking the ball on that third and telling the other one to go look for something. Lots of teams do that. Is that just something that came through the flow of the game? Is that a strategy that you guys wanted to use? And what would you say to our viewers that have maybe heard me and other commentators mention that? How can they add that to their game?
Yeah, I think, it's somewhat of a overcoming your fear factor, being caught out of position or whatever, but you got to be willing to take some risks, right, for the rewards. So I think just practicing it, maybe just taking a step or two here, I'd maybe take, 2 or 3 to completely commit. The more you go over, the better the shot you got to hit, because I'm now out of position. So I've got to go really aggressively, because if I don't, Dan hits it behind me and Eva can't probably get there in time. So if you do, the shake and bake, when you're baking it, you better bake it thoroughly and go for it, because, you're not in a position just to patty cake it back. You want to be aggressive, but yeah, try it. It's not as hard as you think. Most people are going to try to hit it to the person, that's further back, in this case, Eva. So you're going to get a lot of opportunities if you're willing to take the risk. And, anytime your partner hits an effective third shot, whether it's a drive in this case that catches them a little off guard and she gets it a little higher than she would have liked to, or an effective drop where they are having to hit up on it, there is your opportunity to go. So, don't be afraid to try it. And it's a great tool in your toolbox, and, fun way to win a point, as you will know, Dave.
Yes. And I think some people forget that you can shake a third shot drop, and the baking of the cookies and the brownies is sometimes even more effective, because
Right.
the ball is slower. The ball was at the feet of your opponent. They popped it up, and you get a glorious bake on a third shot drop that's well executed.
Exactly. So yeah, I like both. And here Eva has both in her toolbox. So she'll sometimes shake with a drop and sometimes with a drive, and keeps them guessing, and keeps me having opportunities to do the baking.
And I think, the execution, I've got it paused here, that split step that you take here to be able to accelerate towards where the ball is really important. Can you explain that footwork to everybody? I'll actually back it up to Eva's ball, and that's how you get there.
Yeah. So if I just run through this completely in, then I can't go laterally and forward at the same time, right? So the split step enables me to change direction and to really have a little bit better balance when I'm hitting the ball. So I'm going to watch her. I see that we're in a good situation. I'm going in now, boom, split step, and now I can react to the ball, because I'm in an explosive position, on my toes, ready to explode. I'm pretty much still, and now can accelerate toward the ball, because I'm in that split step on my toes, ready to rock and roll position, right?
Absolutely. So folks, this is a fun one to practice. You can do this. You can literally drill this. You can add it to your rec play. You can work out a pattern with whomever you're playing with. Just try it. Now, the shaking needs to be more centralized, though, especially on a drive. So I encourage those drives to be more down the middle, because that makes it a lot easier for the person doing the baking to be able to cover that next ball. So go out there and try that. So our newer viewers understand, we see that Eva, your partner, serving, yet you're standing right next to her. What's up with that?
Yeah, so we're stacking just so we can get comfortable with me on her left, which where I want to be, my forehand in the middle. And I'm staying back, just so I don't get caught creeping in after the serve. So she's going to serve and slide over. And now we're in our position of strength. She rips the ball. Mary Helen was ready, got it back at her feet. We got a nice little exchange going between the ladies, which happens a lot in mixed doubles. That one, I was able to get a surprise lob on them, and again, caught them off guard. They don't expect me to lob off my forehand, but it's something that not many people have seen. And again, I'm getting a little better at. Not super comfortable, but was able to execute that one, and it really set us up well to take advantage of the next shot, which she wasn't able to get a full overhead, so I got to hit an overhead down at the feet of Dan and win the point.
So I think deception is huge here. Variety is huge here. And then if you are hitting defensive lob, obviously be ready to defend and retreat. If you hit an offensive lob, as you did here, a lot of people will lob and back up, and they will miss the opportunity that you created here.
Great point. Yeah, great point. And I actually never lob defensively. I'm only looking to lob offensively. So if they're not at the kitchen and I'm not at the kitchen, I'm not going to lob. But, in that case, not hardly anybody's ever seen a lob off of a forehand ball that I maybe could drive, right? But I'm trying to recreate myself with some new things, as you and I have talked about. In that case, it worked, because I think Mary Helen was ready for the hard ball, and all of a sudden it's going over her head.
And again, you did not go anywhere except stood your ground at the kitchen line, and you got the candy to finish the point down. So before I let you go, just again, any last suggestions? Obviously, your time on the show is incredibly appreciated. What would you tell? We have so many players at all levels watching this show. What's one thing you tell people new and old to the game to go out there and do what? What would you say?
Well, I mean, obviously the main thing is have fun.
Yes.
I mean, this is a great sport. I think it's the greatest sport ever created, because it is mentally challenging, it's physically demanding, and it's extremely socially rewarding. Most all my friends all around the country and the world now are pickleball people, and just the nice people, the friendships, the great memories that we're building is precious. So first of all, don't lose that perspective.
For sure.
And the second one, if you will, allow me one more, would be, that at all levels, it's really a game of attrition. If you can cut out your mistakes and allow other people to hit enough balls and make it harder for them and play percentage pickleball, most people can't beat you if you don't do it for them. So go out and, take your ego out of it as much as possible. It's not a game of winners unless they're obvious, but just cut down the losers and really play higher percentage pickleball. And I think you'll find your success rate going up.
Phenomenal advice. So Scott Moore, thanks so much for being here.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching Get the Point. We're here every other Wednesday, and on APP TV, please subscribe so you'll know when a phenomenal guest like Scott Moore shows up on my show, and we have a lot of great shows.